Hi, I'm Catherine and welcome back to my channel. I have a little confession to make. It seems that as time goes on, I have been washing my hair less and less frequently. I have been on a hair growth journey for the past 7 years, and I've now grown my hair out from a chin length haircut to now almost thigh length. And before said chin length haircut 7 years ago, I was never able to grow my hair very long at all. So what has changed? That's what this video is going to be talking to you about. We're going to be talking more about hair washing, how often we wash our hair, the role water has to play in the health of our hair, and what this all has to do with historical women and how they cared for their hair. So why have I been washing my hair so infrequently? A lot of reasons play into that. Partly it's because my hair is just quite long and quite curly, and it just takes a lot of time to go through the whole hair washing routine, so that's part of it. I also had a baby several months ago. We made a massive move. Lots of life changes happened, that kind of thing. And what I love about my current hair care routine that has proven to be so effective for me and for a lot of you is that it is so customizable to your schedule, to the needs of your hair, to the weather, to so many things. And that's what I love about natural, historically inspired hair care. I've also done a lot of research on historical hair care over the years of being on this journey, and I have found a shocking fact about many historical people that they just frankly wash their hair extremely infrequently compared to what we do today. At least if we're talking about history, after the Roman Empire, say. And so I have decided that, quite frankly, for me, washing my hair up to even 1 month apart between washes works fine for me and my hair and my schedule, and my hair is growing longer and healthier and thicker than ever. Another thing I've learned is that historical people were pros when it came to various methods of dry cleansing the hair. In other words, in our modern brains, we tend to think that the only way to properly clean your hair is by hopping in the shower, getting it soaking wet, and using some form of shampoo. When in reality, there are actually various methods of dry cleansing the hair, such as boar bristle brushing, using a natural dry shampoo, and other methods that I've talked about in other videos that I will have linked in the description. Using all of these techniques in combination, my hair is now healthier and longer than it has ever been before, and more importantly, the ends are still thick and healthy, whereas in the past, whenever I grew my hair out to the longest lengths it ever got, which was only like to my ribs, the ends were getting quite wispy and thin by that point, and I have since learned the reason for that, and that's what we're going to talk about in this video. So you may be wondering at this point, what are the changes that I made to grow my hair so drastically longer and thicker than it had ever been before? Well, I have talked about that in depth in other videos, which will be linked in the description, but today we're going to be focusing in specifically on hair washing and the role that water has to play in how healthy our hair is, and also the frequency of how often we wash our hair. I believe that this change has played one of the biggest roles in allowing my hair to now grow so long is the way that I view water and how it plays a part in my hair care routine. So we're going to be talking more about the history of hair care and how it plays into all of this in a moment, but first I'd like to take a moment to thank the sponsor of today's video, Ana Luisa Jewelry. So Ana Luisa is an eco-conscious, carbon-neutral jewelry company that specializes in creating classic and even edgy jewelry pieces that are available at a very affordable price while still using real gold. They have jewelry pieces for everyone, and these classy pieces have really elevated the way that I feel on a daily basis. These are my go-to, literally daily wear jewelry pieces. I have been living in my Ana Luisa jewelry ever since I got my first pieces, about probably a year ago now. And they really do elevate the way I feel. Even on those busy mom days where I don't feel like putting on makeup or dressing up fancy, literally just putting on a pair of these beautiful earrings or these rings or a necklace can just immediately help me feel better about myself and change the way I feel as I go about my day. They have so many beautiful classic jewelry pieces, like this gorgeous ring, the matching necklace that goes with the ring. I also have a set of earrings that I've showed on a previous video that match this set as well. And then they also have really cool edgy pieces, like this cool Egyptian inspired snake ring that I really love, because I've never been much of a ring person because I just have never really liked how my hands look. I have kind of big fingers, but I really like this ring specifically because I just think a bigger ring suits my hands better, and I just love how Ana Luisa has so many options to suit different tastes and different body types, different hand types, whatever. I love their jewelry so much. So Ana Luisa has unmatched quality. They don't compromise on anything. Every single piece is rigorously strength tested and humidity tested. These pieces are long-lasting, tarnish-resistant jewelry items that you can feel good about wearing for a long period of time. Ana Luisa is also very conscious of their impact on the environment. They use recycled materials, and they also are completely carbon neutral in their production of their jewelry. So anywhere in the US, Ana Luisa's got you covered with free and fast shipping. I myself actually live in Canada, and their shipping is still really fast even to me. Exchanges are also super easy with free shipping and exchange programs through Ana Luisa, and they have a worry-free guarantee. They have a 2-year warranty on all of their jewelry items. So I definitely recommend checking out Ana Luisa jewelry today to really up-level the way you feel on a regular basis. Their pieces start at just $39, super affordable. Ana Luisa is currently offering you, my viewers, a 20% off discount if you use the code that will be linked for you in the description. Thanks, Ana Luisa. Okay, so what's so important about historical hair care practices? Like, why am I literally obsessed with looking into how historical people cared for their hair? Well, the main gist of it is that many years ago, about 7 years ago, when I first began my current hair care routine, I was beginning my love of historical clothing and historical sewing. And that also went along with a real admiration of so many historical women's long, gorgeous, princess-like hair. There is just a myriad of historical paintings and historical photos of women who had clearly much longer hair than we ever see today. Now, part of that, of course, is due to their social aesthetic at that time, and that they just didn't cut their hair the same way that we do today. However, there are so many people today who desperately want to grow longer hair, and they've been trying to grow their hair out for years, and they're just not succeeding. Whereas you compare that to in history, I found a historical Edwardian period hair care manual that talks about it being very common for 13-year-old girls, almost universally, to have waist-length hair. That's not something we necessarily see a whole lot of today, and if you take that forward, it means that by the time they're an adult, their hair would be quite longer. So they knew something that we don't about growing long hair, and that was what first drove my impulse to look more into how they care for their hair and how it drastically differs from our modern way of looking at hair care, and specifically hair hygiene. So for much of fairly recent recorded history, like post-Roman Empire, people simply did not wash their hair very often at all. I have actually been reading a book recently called The Dirt on Clean. If you are interested in looking more into this topic, I will have that linked for you in the description, but it basically gives a whole history of bathing and how different societies in different time periods looked at bathing, starting at the Roman times and going to the present, basically. And it is fascinating, and let me tell you, for a big chunk of that time, people considered frequent bathing, like even of their bodies, to be like once a month. Like there was even a period where I believe Queen Elizabeth I said proudly that she bathes once every month, whether she needs it or not. So even the Queen of England was only bathing once a month, and that's talking about cleansing your body, let alone your hair. So clearly people just weren't washing their hair as often. Now, am I advocating to go around, not washing going around without a bath for a month? Obviously not. However, I am advocating for maybe just taking a fresh look at our society's values of hygiene, and maybe recognizing that we've perhaps gone a bit far in the opposite direction, especially when it comes to hair, because hair does not have body odors. It is actually perfectly feasible to dry cleanse hair using methods such as boar bristle brushing. You don't have to get it soaking wet and drenched with shampoo just to get it clean all the time. Okay, so let's just give a quick word about why people were bathing so infrequently, because I think as modern people, we tend to throw historical people under the bus and just view them as total idiots. Like, why on earth were they bathing so infrequently? But sometimes if we look more at the events and the thought patterns that played into why they did things a certain way, we can start to understand that there was a reason behind things. And I'm sure 1,000 years from now, people are going to look at our time period and think we're crazy as well. So, I think all time periods are like that. So when it came to the infrequency of bathing, after the fall of the Roman Empire and the rise of Christianity in the world, excessive bathing, whatever that meant to people, was actually considered to be linked to lascivious behavior because, of course, in the Roman Empire, people bathed a whole lot. They had the public baths, and the public baths did often have a lot of lascivious behavior happening. The rise of Christian culture in the world tended to link excessive bathing with immoral behavior. So there was that. And then the bubonic plague came in. And so until about the late 1700s, the theory that had developed around why people got sick from the bubonic plague had to do with getting these like fumes or vapors of this disease through their pores, actually. And they believed that your pores would open and you'd be more susceptible to getting disease after having a bath, especially a hot bath, because we know that does open your pores. And so literally, they actually began to view bathing as an actually dangerous practice that could expose you to possibly dying through the bubonic plague or another illness. And they also just viewed bathing as something to be done very infrequently, because if you did bathe, you'd have to stay inside wrapped in a robe and slippers and a hat for the next 2 days so that you wouldn't get some sickness soaking into your body or get a chill or something like that. So they did definitely have their reasoning behind why they didn't bathe very often. Obviously, we no longer agree with those reasons today, but needless to say, they just didn't wash their hair very often, obviously. And of course, other times, more recently in history, when they no longer maybe had the fear of bathing, it was more of a logistical thing, and logistical reason for why they didn't bathe very often was simply the immense hassle involved in bringing buckets and buckets of water in. So what does this mean practically speaking? Since people were generally bathing less frequently than we do today, they were also not having their hair getting soaking wet with water, and therefore not detangling it while it was in a wet state very frequently at all. And when you compare that to modern day hair care practices, most people, especially people with curly or wavy hair, are getting their hair wet, I would say at least 3 times a week, if not more than that, and then vigorously detangling their hair while it is, if not soaking wet, then certainly while it's damp. The reason why this could be a problem if you are struggling to grow long hair is that it affects your ability to retain hair length. It's not going to affect how much hair is growing out of your scalp, but the hair that you already do have is much more fragile when it is in a wet state. It is actually about 30% weaker when it's wet, because hair is made up of 3 different types of chemical bonds, and one of these bonds is called a salt bond, and it actually becomes dissolved when the hair is wet, and it doesn't come back together until the hair dries, which means that if you are running a comb through your hair while it's wet, it might feel like it's easier to get the tangles out, and that's because the hair is more malleable. But what's also happening is that the hair strands are much more likely to snap and break off while you're doing that. But the weird part about that is you're actually less likely to even feel that breakage occurring if it's wet, because the hair is just so much more mushy. It's not going to make an audible snapping sound like it would when it's dry. So a lot of people, especially those with curly hair, can be led to think that their hair should only be detangled while it's wet with conditioner in it. And in reality, this could be playing into your hair constantly breaking off at the ends and having those thin, wispy ends, and your hair never seeming to grow past a certain length. Okay, so let's link this into my own story. This is why all of this is important to me. I grew up always wanting long princess hair like those Disney princesses. And I had very curly hair. It actually used to be a lot curlier than it is now. I really didn't like my hair. It made me very unhappy to be the only kid in my class with very poofy hair. People made fun of me. And so by the time I got to be a young teenager, I went full force into the curly girl method, which involves a lot of wet detangling of your hair, using lots of conditioner, only detangling it when it's wet, and of course using lots of styling products to get those nice crisp curls. And while this certainly did help to improve my self-esteem during that time, despite literally like never ever cutting my hair during a period of like 6 years, my hair maybe gained about this much length, and that was it. And it certainly never grew past my ribs. So something was going on. And then after I had my first child, it started to seriously thin out at the ends and get very wispy. Something was not right. And that was when I went into my current hair care routine. And if you'd like to hear more of that story and the full explanation of what my hair care routine entails, then please check out my historical hair care video, which will be linked for you in the description. As this relates to my current practice of hair washing, I have learned that dry finger detangling my hair is by far the better option if I want to grow my hair long. And this is the evidence. My hair is now almost thigh length, And so not only am I not wet detangling my hair, but I'm also just like getting it wet a lot less often, because in the past I used to think that the only way to detangle my hair or style my hair was to get it quite soaking wet. And now I've learned various historical methods of dealing with my hair in a completely dry state, such as using a boar bristle brush. So let's talk about modern hair care practices, especially for the general public, because even for me, even when I was in my curly girl method phase, I wasn't even using a bunch of the harsh shampoos that most people are using today, especially those with straight hair. So let's talk about that. Most people today are not only washing their hair very often and not only detangling while it's wet, but they're also likely using very harsh shampoos that have, chemicals like sulfates in them that tend to strip the oils in your scalp and in your hair, and therefore cause your scalp to begin overproducing oil, which then leads to a vicious cycle of needing to wash your hair more often than you did before. And then it's also just like sucking all the moisture and natural oils from your hair length, which is also going to contribute to hair not being able to grow long. Okay, so let's talk about why. Why on earth have I been washing my hair so infrequently? As I sheepishly mentioned before, I have been going up to 1 month between hair washes over the past 6-7 months or so. So let's talk about why, because I know that can be so shocking to most modern people today. When I started my hair care routine, I was washing once a week. That was working for me. It wasn't a huge time investment because my hair was shorter. But as my hair has gotten longer, it has become more and more of a very involved process to wash my hair. It involves days leading up to the hair wash where I'm having to work the tangles out gently with my fingers, and then, do some sort of mask before my hair wash and then wash my hair. So it's a big process. So there's the time factor, but there's also the thing I've already mentioned about historically, when we look back, we see that people generally did not wash their hair very often at all. And they did find other ways, other technologies, if you will, of dry cleansing hair. And so in my own personal experience, another reason why I have always tended to wash my hair fairly infrequently, even as a child, I only washed my hair with shampoo once a week, is that my scalp is just naturally less oily. Now, how much of this is my genetic makeup and how much of this is due to the fact that I've never used a lot of shampoo, I don't know, I can't say. I'm sure it does help that I don't really use harsh shampoos on my scalp so I don't get that vicious cycle started. So there is that, and I'm not saying everyone needs to start stretching out their washes to this far apart because everyone's hair is different, but I'm just kind of generally encouraging you that if you have been washing your hair every day or every other day, maybe start trying to stretch out the time between washes more, and maybe also look into more gentle, natural ways of cleansing your hair, such as using clay washes rather than conventional shampoos. That's been another game changer for me. So as I already mentioned, as a child, I only used shampoo once a week. That was what my mom told me to do, and so I listened. But once I got to my early teen years, I just decided I was done with shampoo. I did not like how it frizzed out my curls. It made my hair feel dry, and I just honestly didn't even see the point of it because I'd never even experienced having noticeably greasy or dirty hair like most people talk about. So I just decided I was done with shampoo and I was going to switch over to co-washing. And so that was what I did during my curly girl years. If you're not aware, co-washing is where you only wash with conditioner. So you get your hair wet, you put conditioner in it, you rinse it out, and the conditioner can actually, to a point, cleanse your hair. Obviously not as much as shampoo, and it's great for people with naturally dry hair like me. However, now that I'm in my current hair care routine, I actually don't really ever use conditioner, which is shocking. If I told that to my past self, I would have been quite shocked because conditioner used to be something I felt like I needed. I was literally using maybe a quarter bottle of conditioner at every wash, and now I use none at all through using my methods of, oil treatments before a wash and clay washes and stuff like that. It's just no longer necessary. So once I switched to my current hair care routine about 7 years ago, I switched over to using Rastool clay and apple cider vinegar rinses, and I did usually also use a natural conditioner in between those two treatments. For most of that time period, it's only been in the last year that I've kind of ditched the conditioner. So up until a year ago, I was still washing once a week. But in the past year, as I've said, my hair has gotten quite a bit longer, and also just a lot of changes in my life have happened where I find like I don't need to wash my hair that often. It's just too much of a time investment, and I can find ways to make my hair look nice without having to get it wet all the time. So I do boar bristle brushing, I do protective styles. I have videos on all these things. They will be linked for you below. Basically, yeah, I guess this video is a call to tell you that you don't necessarily need to be getting your hair wet and washing it all the time in order for it to look nice. There are other ways, and in fact, washing your hair less frequently can be beneficial for your hair health and your hair length. So to wrap this all up, how does all of this apply to you? It probably won't look like starting to wash your hair only once a month like I've been doing. And realistically, I don't actually see myself sticking with this schedule forever. I'm sure that as life gets a little less busy, and also as I figure out ways to tweak my hair care routine to make it work more for the length my hair is at now, I will probably start washing my hair a little more frequently, because it is nice to have freshly washed hair and nice looking curls. But for you, if you have maybe been washing your hair every day or every other day, I hope this will inspire you to start maybe stretching out the time between your washes and also looking into gentler methods of washing your hair, such as clay washing. I truly believe that following a more natural and historical hair care method can really help improve your hair length and thickness when we can learn to look beyond our current chemically based way of caring for hair and look more to the past and look more to nature. Either way, thanks so much for watching this video all the way until the end. I really appreciate that, and I will see you on my next video.